For analysis of the markets, let's welcome Moxima Gama, who is a currency specialist at the Money Hub. Moxima, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Carl.
You've been tracking the markets from yesterday up until now. How have they reacted, especially with regards to the currency?
Okay, so if we look at the market in general, if we look at the top 40, it didn't really react much. It's pretty much on a free fall, which means there's a lot of selling momentum coming in. And there's no brakes put on at present. So there was very little reaction regarding the equity markets, which is pretty much equity related. What had a big, what the movement was in the rand, and it was quite volatile over the news. If you look at the chart that you've got here, before the news actually came out, we saw the rand jolt up to about 15 rand. 15 rand or 5, and then it then strengthened equally to about 14.50 when Tito Mboweni was then announced as the new Minister of Finance. And then now, if I looked at it now, it's starting to kind of go back into bearish territory. So this is just trying to show you the amount of volatility that we're experiencing with the currency. But I need to really stress that the rand is in bearish territory. So it's more on a weakening path than strengthening. So any good news, it will react temporarily to good news. What is moving the rand particularly would be what's happening in the US. So it's the dollar that is causing a lot of, being the alpha of the currencies, it's causing a lot of rand weakness. And I'm not really going to get into the economics of it because I'm not an economist. I only study market sentiment. But the main factors that's causing dollar strength would be the Fed increasing the interest rates, as well as this pending trade war. So that's what's then translating to our rand weakness. So you should expect more weakness, and any good news will just cause temporary movement. So
when we look at the chart again, especially with the rand having some fluctuation at some point, we can see that at 11 o'clock it was a little bit to these current levels, but it went up a little bit. So with this interpretation of that movement, will it sustain this course?
So in terms of going back into strength, it won't serendipitously just go back into strength, because, as I mentioned, it's more on a weakening path than, so we should expect more weakness rather, unless anything else pertinent and positive for the economy then is translated. So expect a lot of volatility, because there would be that tug of war between good news and what the dollar's doing. Which volatility works well for traders, and but your predominant movement would be towards weakness.
Right. Let's now come back to the finance minister. I remember Tito Mboweni used to say that when he was Reserve Bank governor, he was very careful with anything that he says because it might rattle the markets. Now he is finance minister, and certain things that he has tweeted have come back to be in the spotlight, and many people are discussing them. The sovereign fund, the government owning 40% in mining, and he also talked about just, general transformation regarding a shift in policy. Do you think what he tweeted may also come in, be factored in as part of new policy, as he's the new boss of Treasury?
Okay, so as you said, it's past, and tweet has always got a personal touch to it. I don't think he would actually implement something that's quite substantial. He'll probably keep it in the same tone as what Mr. Nene was going to. He wouldn't want to rattle it as much. We're very much in volatile territory in terms of our economic status. So I think what they'd want to do is keep things kind of constant, but on a recovery basis. He was very careful about the movement of the rand, which does, in actual fact, implement how our economic growth happens, because we're very much an export country, and a weaker rand works out better. So he'd want to keep it at bay then, because a stronger rand does not work, for most of us. Although it shows economic strength, it impacts us a bit negatively, being a country that exports a lot.
Right. Earlier you were saying that there hasn't been much of activity in the markets as you looked at the oil share, which hasn't been really, moving drastically since 2014 up until now. What does this say about South Africa as an investment destination?
Everyone's trading on thin ice at this point, but having the whole Cleanup Act come about it reaps, it has a good, it's showing it's reflecting some positivity. In terms of sustainability, whatever happens now economically will only come into effect after 18 months. So we are very much, our economic status is still in the red. As you know, we're in a technical recession. And the whole stimulus package is really reaping very mixed emotions. So the step towards recovery is coming along. There's still a bit of that, you know, the elections coming up in next year, jitterness. I think after all of that, and with what he's implementing now, it would be an 18-month forward projection that will start bringing back some growth. At this point, we're looking a bit dicey for foreign investors, and we need the foreign investment in order to up our GDP because it has a ripple effect. But at this point, he's doing a good job with setting the foundation in order for it to filter through in at least next year.
So going forward, what does this all mean for the ordinary citizen?
It means we're going to struggle a little. With the rand weakening, it will give us, at least it will ease a few things in terms of petrol, which and it will extend exports and, you know, at least bring back some type of growth. So the ordinary man on the street, because we're on a spot of having to rebuild economy, we're going to feel the pinch a little, but it's all looking towards some positivity. So it's nothing we could do at this point, but look ahead.
All right. Thank you very much for making time to speak to us. All right. Moxima Gama is currency specialist at the Money Hub, interpreting the markets for us.